Talk to us about your personal side of things, because I think that helps people get some context about what rich might mean for you guys. At some point in your life, you said, I don't want to do this anymore, or I don't want to keep going on this hamster wheel. I don't want to say yes to a 50-year career. What happened to you guys where you said, we got to make a change?
Well, Julien was first. He was in a toxic work situation back in 2018. And a lot of his decision, we had just had a newborn around the time. Beau was not quite a year old. But a lot of his decision was what kind of example he wanted to set for our son. He wanted to set an example where, instead of the lessons that we had been told as young people, that, the job is the job and to put your head down and take it and you need to pay bills. He wanted to set this example for our son that if someone is not treating you right, then you have the right to walk away, right? You deserve to be in a healthy work environment. And so he left and worked on the business full time. I was still working, still getting promoted, still being the breadwinner. And I took a lot of pride in that. But about a year after he left and I was still working, I started to realize that it was creating this gap in our marriage. He would have different experiences during the day, and I would come home and I'd be stressed out about office stuff. Like, it sounds so silly now where it's like, I can't believe she didn't offer me a bagel. Like, it was just office stuff. And what used to be like this huge shared part of our relationship where we'd complain about work was just me complaining. And he had another point of view of the world that I was kind of envious of. He saw all this opportunity and was talking to all these people online and meeting new people and eating at Whole Foods for lunch. And I was just like, what is this? And so I had to make the decision very similar to him. Instead of asking myself, do I feel completely prepared to jump into our business? It was like, do I think I could be a better wife? Do I think I could be a better mom, a better sister, a better neighbor, a better partner? When I answered those questions, I realized it was time for me to cash out. It was time for me to walk away and try something new. And if it didn't work out, then I could always go back to work. But I needed the pause to recalibrate our family life. And that was a huge part of my decision.
I love that. There's people listening right now that say, that's fantastic. I want to do that. But how do you financially make that happen? This is a money book. This is a life book. Talk to us about how you guys were able to do that.
Yeah, and that's important. I'm glad you asked that, because we didn't just, rely on what we were missing emotionally, right? Obviously, there were some financial implications there. And so at that point, we were very fortunate that we were, or at least I was, at around the 10-year mark of my professional working career. We'd paid off our mortgage on our then primary home the year before. To Kiersten's point, we'd started a business which was already starting to produce some income. We'd taken the steps 3 years prior to invest in some real estate. And so we had a cash flowing property. And so there was supplemental income there. Yeah. There was intentional efforts that really lowered our cost of living there. We had fully funded emergency funds. Like, we had plenty in the tank, and we were still living through a stock market that was producing record-breaking returns every single year. And we had every reason to believe that that would continue going forward. And so we certainly financially prepared to walk away from our jobs. It certainly wasn't something that was just triggered by our emotions. And, it was something that was around 10 years in the making. And again, we talk about that in the book. Like, you want to be in that position to put yourself first. I think it's, especially after having a child, I think anyone who has a kid can speak to how indescribably exhausting yet fulfilling it can all be. Coming from, like an empty tank, but you're still required to deliver at a high level. Like, sometimes all you want is a break, and we were lucky that we'd put ourselves in a position to give ourselves that break, to recalibrate, even before we were all kind of forced to do that because of the pandemic. So those are kind of some of the things that we did just to put ourselves in a position to put ourselves first.
Absolutely. Well, so we went from the emotional side of things to the financial side of things. Now I want to go back to the emotional side of things. You two built up your careers to a point where you were making some pretty good money. At what point? I don't know exactly what you were making, but you were making good money. You were proud of what you were making. How does the ego go into that, where you say, hey, I'm going to let go of this, let's call it a 6-figure salary, where you say, I built it up to this, and now I'm gonna be a scrappy entrepreneur and build things up. How did that feel, or how does that feel based on that transition? Because I know a lot of people, including myself, I used to make $180,000 in my sales corporate role and corporate event marketing, and now I'm very happy. It took a while, but I'm very happy making around $60,000 a year doing this, talking to you guys and have a conversation. But it took some time. So talk to me about, did you guys have any transition for that? I guess emotionally, on a pride standpoint? Talk to me about that.
Yeah, there was both. There was a bruised ego and there was an emotional transition, because it takes a while for you to realize which purchases in your budget were subsidizing the emptiness you felt in your day-to-day life. And so right sizing our budget was an exercise that took, oh my gosh, probably 18 to 24 months. And we're only on year 2.5 that we've been doing this both full time. The business has been around longer, but I was traditionally employed. So like, you don't feel, living off the revenue, but it's been an interesting journey, because we've had to confront a lot of the expenses that we had and to figure out like which ones actually matter and which ones don't. But I think it wasn't as scary of a transition as I expected, because to Julian's point, while we were traditionally employed, we had already started to earn income from other sources. And so we had something to compare it to. We knew that the income that we were earning passively, I'm using massive air quotes for people who are listening but not watching, that we were earning outside of our 9 to 5, quote unquote, passively through real estate and through our digital business, felt better than the money that we were earning at our W-2 jobs. We had access to it quicker. The effort matched the output. So, like when you are spending a week at work working on a presentation for executives, doesn't matter how many hours you put in that week, your check does not change. Like it doesn't reflect your effort. Whereas with entrepreneurship, it did. If we spent 30 hours on a project, we were paid 30 hours worth and then some. And so we had something to compare it to. And we knew that the upside was far greater on this side of earning if we would just be patient and stick to our process. And so it was not as scary as I thought it would be, but it has been as difficult emotionally as I thought it would be.
I like that. And what you're describing there are these multiple legs to your stool or your chair or whatever we want to call it that holds you guys up for your family. You talked about real estate. You talked about your online business. Did you guys do investing in the stock market that's helped with this sort of bridge as well? Julian, I think we talked about this a couple of years ago now, but where are you guys with that, and has that helped you with this bridge?
It has. It's one of the best decisions we ever made was to kind of take the reins and to start self-managing our own investment portfolio, inclusive of our retirement portfolio. And it's not to knock any of the financial advisors out there or any of the people who choose to use financial advisory services. But what I do think it did is it just put us in the driver's seat, and we were comfortable being there. I think no one should care more about your money than you do, right? I like the way that it felt. We enjoyed that process. We invested very simply and confidently in index funds. We're pretty consistent at that. And again, we've enjoyed some really healthy returns over the last 10 years, like most people who've done the same thing. And so now we're at a point where we are actually embracing risk a little bit more. We're saying, all right, well, let's look at some specific tech sector funds. And maybe for the first time ever, depending on how good some things go, we might even start dabbling in some individual stock picking. That was pretty much the blueprint. It was something that we'd read, something that we believed in, given our understanding of what you can actually control with respect to the cost of investing. And so we factored all of that into our process. And I think it just made us more confident investors.
I love that. Yeah. And so we're talking about those three different areas. Do you feel like if somebody's interested in cashing out, somebody's interested in a 15-year career, those three avenues should be something that everybody pursues, or just one? I mean, what would be your advice?
If I had to pick one, I would say index fund investing. As much as I enjoyed being a real estate investor, we've met and had thousands of conversations about money with people around the world. And I have very few, let's say, failures or cases of failure from people who have taken that approach. I can't say that with real estate investing, and I can't say that with entrepreneurship. Obviously, while there are some people who've had remarkable success, as I'm looking at or thinking about the number of hiccups or challenges that people have had, I mean, the affordability of index fund investing, the diversity in terms of options that you can choose from,
the liquidity,
which is so important, especially as we're comparing that to people who are in real estate, the low barrier of entry, right? We're not talking about having to get insurance and going through appraisals and down payments or any of those things. We can literally just automate these things. And even if you wanted to use a robo-advisor, like it could just be done on your phone, wherever you are, anytime you want. And I think that in and of itself is such a powerful thing. When we think about the power just of investing, like even outside of just index fund investing, and we kind of think about it now as one of the best benefits that you can have. So if you were to work for a hotel company like we did, you wouldn't for a second turn down one of the best benefits, which is to stay in the hotels for free or at a deep discount. Or if you worked for an airline, you would never turn down the ability
Fly
to
with a
fly
competitor.
around the world, right? You're going to take full advantage of that benefit. And I think, for people who work for publicly traded companies, I mean, you really need to start thinking about investing as if it's one of the greatest benefits that you have as someone who has means, right? You've helped to contribute to the profitability of this company. And so now you owe it to yourself to take full advantage of the work that you've contributed to. And so that's the way that we think about it.
I think that's a fantastic answer. Yeah, because no matter what, especially with index funds, you're betting on the 500 best companies, no matter which ones are currently in there, because you're always going to own them forever. It's like there's never not going to be 500 great companies in our country, right?
Right. Exactly.
No.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So there's somebody listening right now, and statistically, achieving financial independence, as you both know, as you both talk about a lot, is more difficult for Black and Hispanic families due to general just disparity of wealth and opportunity that exists in our country. So there's somebody who's Black or Hispanic that's listening to us right now, and they're thinking, you know what, this whole financial independence thing, it sounds great, but it's not possible for me in this country. What would you say to them?
My answer is that the same statistics that lead you to ask that question are the reasons why you need to try this, right? There's a spectrum to financial independence. You may be right. You may not reach the level where you never have to work another day in your life. You can draw down 4% and sip pina coladas on the beach. You may not reach that. I'm not going to promise you that, but you will. If you try, even if you're only halfway there, reach a level of independence that allows you to take the breaks that you need, that allows you to not be financially devastated when your career lets you down.
Or life,
that allows you to respond to emergencies from your friends and family when they call, not if. And that allows you to have options, right? If you want to leave this country where so much wealth inequality exists, you have that option when you have more options when you have money than you don't. And so I empathize with the question. I understand why people feel like it's not possible for them. But my ask is that you hold space for the spectrum of independence that is possible for us. This is a game that you can win. Those other ones, I'm not so confident, but this is a game that you can actually play to win.
Do you think there's generally, having worked in the corporate world and having now done what you're doing right now, do you think there's more opportunity for Black and Hispanic folks in the entrepreneurship side of things and real estate worlds?
Absolutely. I do. And obviously we're biased because we've experienced that, but that's a core part of the message that we had. So many people define winning in their careers in a very limited spectrum, right? So it's either getting the big job with the big salary or getting that big promotion. But I think more people than not can relate to the idea that very few people actually win that way, right? Because there are only so many jobs that you can have. And because so many things happen throughout the course of your career that derail your ambitions. And so we are offering an alternative, which is to say, actually, a better way to think about winning is to put yourself in a position to walk away entirely. You don't have to worry about winning. You don't have to worry about getting the promotion. I mean, again, to Kiersten's point, even after you hit a certain milestone, it's not to suggest that you have to quit, but you are empowered to quit. Yeah. And I think that there's a power imbalance there that I think leads to a significantly better quality of life because you have more options. You can choose to decide that you're going to spend the next year being a better parent or a better partner to your husband or your wife or whatever it is, a better son, daughter, you name it. And so I just think that is a goal that the vast majority of people actually can achieve instead of getting the big job with the corner office, because only so many people are going to get that. And I think we all kind of know that the game's kind of rigged. I think it's fair to say that there are some people, and it extends beyond just race or even gender. It's just kind of rigged. We kind of know that, right? There's certain people that are going to get those jobs and they're just going to ease on through it. But for other people, it's going to be a bit of a grind. And so it's a matter of saying, all right, what are the minimum number of rounds that I can hang in there, before I just throw in the towel? And we've landed on the number 15. And I feel like that's a good, solid number. You gave it a good fight.
Sturdy number.
And now you can walk away and feel proud of what you've built and decide what you want to do, or instead of having that decision being made for you.
I think that's great. And I think the 15-year time limit also allows you to get the cash, to accumulate the cash so that you can cash out. Because yes, being able to build up your career and take advantage of these benefits and options that are out there as long as you can, it definitely helps when you're building that wealth train. So there's somebody listening right now and they say, okay, man, I am in. I want a 15-year career. I'm just getting started with this financial independence thing. Maybe they don't have the high consumer debt and things like that, but they're looking for a step following this interview so they can keep moving forward to creating that 15-year career and path out to cash out. So what piece of advice would you leave with them?
The first step is to make a list of things that you enjoy doing when you're not at work, right? This will keep you focused on what the mission is here. It's to build more time to do those things. And then the second thing that I would advise is to try to earn $1 outside of your 9-to-5 job and see how creative you can get. My guess is that you'll earn way more than $1, whether it's through a bank bonus or through a rebate or through a small investment through a robo-advisor, to Julian's point. Focus on earning $1 and then inch that up to see, can I earn enough to cover one bill every month outside of my 9-to-5? And then just keep inching that up, because I think people don't realize how much easier it is to earn income outside of your 9-to-5 without working an additional 40 hours for it. And so I would give people like a little taste of that feeling to help them in their confidence levels with leaving a long-term career.
I love that. I often get discouraged sometimes as being a part of this financial independence movement. If I can't invest $1 million by the time I'm 40, then I've completely failed. And I've quickly realized that my version of financial independence is very different from some of the big stories I see out there. And I'm very happy with it being different as well. So tell people where people can get this book. And if they want to learn more from you, where should they go?
Yeah, so our website is richandregular.com. We are on all major social media platforms: Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. The book is wherever books are sold. So Amazon, Target.com, Walmart, Barnes & Nobles. All of those are available for you to purchase, cashing out if you're interested.
Absolutely. And if you guys are audio people like I am, get the Audible version. I've definitely enjoyed it on my walks this week. Julien and Kiersten, thank you so much for your time today. And thank you for putting this out there in the world. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.